Gentles and Ladymen. I'm Spiro, and I'm not a wizard. Today was going to be part 5, or maybe part 4.2 of our Type-in program. We've gone from an iceberg game to a little roguelite dungeon crawler, and now to a Pac-Man. And the the last video was quite long. I will try and make this a little bit quicker. No guarantees, or at least I'll cut it short sooner. And I won't reiterate. So this part is definitely not going to be as useful unless you've seen the others. It still might be. I'm still going to be fiddling with the code and making changes, but we identified a bunch of issues in the last one that needed fixing or things we want to add, and this is as close to planning or scripting as I'm ever going to do, I think. And this is basically what I think we needed to address from the last episode. So I'm going to make sure that this version, I've made a copy of it, and that is so that the different versions can still be on the on my GitHub, identifiable, rather than you having to dig through the previous commits. So I'll leave it here in case you wanted the version that matches the last video. That'll be separate to this one. So we'll do that. Now the first quick thing I want to address is actually the second point on here, the map display. When we did that, what have we got? Oh, I've gone past it. So it's not a huge game, is it? When we did this, I said if the board coordinate here is not 0, that it's just about to print, then print a wall space. And that could kind of work, but we've gone and allocated the player position, the enemy positions, and not the door, which I have to fix. That's point 1. The trouble with that is that effectively by saying anything that's not 0 means that the places that have these are going to also be hashes on the screen. I guess it's not bad, because they will be overridden when it comes time to displaying those other objects. And if you know the board, you might realize, hey, there's, now I know where some things are going to be, because they kind of stand out as different from the normal board layout. But I'd like to clean that up. So what I want to say is, if it is equal to a wall, so if the current location is equal to a wall, print the wall character. Otherwise, just print a dot. Now that doesn't affect or change the board array. That's just what gets displayed on the screen. So that is one thing that I wanted to fix. So the next one was that we broke the door, because we had originally relied on these door X and door Y, around the wrong way, but that's fine. But I thought in my cleverness that I'd get rid of them here, because the door wasn't something that moved. But we do need to keep it. So I'm going to keep door X equals ZX, door Y equals ZY. So we'll I'll just change those to make it a bit clearer. So now we are randomly generating the door location, and we're saving those into the door X and door Y coordinates. Because it doesn't move, but it does get printed out later. So I think that solves that one. So some other issues we had was a feature we wanted to add was let's split this up into features versus bugs. That's a feature. That's a feature. Allow enemies to move over some objects without disturbing them. It's kind of a bug. That one's kind of a bug. This one, I guess, is a feature. So add checks to move enemies away from the player so they don't just get stuck. So we had the I want to add a bit more logic to at the moment the enemy will only move closer to you, and if it can't move closer to you, it's not going to move. So I'll get to that. I guess that's kind of a feature. Detect which enemy kills the player. Stop enemies going through objects and allow enemies to move over some objects. I might even make it at the moment that will just stop the enemies going through any objects, and we'll just consider that a boundary they can't cross. That might become an issue, for example, if there's a corridor and there's like a pill there. The pill is the freeze token. I'm going to start calling it a freeze token. If they move over a freeze token, then, or rather if they move up to a freeze token, I'll make it at the moment so that they'll just have to try and find another way out. And that might mean that they kind of get stuck. We'll see how it goes. I'll add this first, and then I'll do this bit later. So let us. What do we want to add first? Detect which enemy kills the player. So actually, one thing that is not on my list that should be is to fix the. At the moment, I've got enemy 1. Its variables are. Oh, did I change it? I thought I was still using SX. No, I fixed it. All right, then that's not a problem. Detect which enemy kills the player. That one's going to be interesting. Let us just quickly run, because I've got to make a habit of version 3. After making some changes, so we've kind of changed where the door position goes. Searching for star. What the? Oh wow. Oh, didn't like, maybe the file name was too long, or didn't like the dash. Better fix that. Okay, so the door does appear to be in the right place. We should make the enemies different colours. That will also be a really good way then of tracking which one has killed it. Has killed me, if that, or caught the player. Because if we have another variable so we've got x1 and y1 for the x and coordinates of enemy 1, and x2 and y2 for the coordinates of the second enemy. So if we have, say, an E1 and an E2, which is the enemy 1 and enemy 2, then we might be able to use that and say if E1, then I guess I'm going to have to match that with the coordinates. We're going to have to somehow say if E1 matches X1 and Y1, that might be a way to do it. But also mean that I can say that E1, when we're redrawing E1, he'll be a different colour to E2. So we've got that guy is moving. Might have done a boo-boo. Crumbs, because you can move diagonally. Okay, the door. I didn't actually check the door was in the right place by walking onto it. It's fine. It'll be fine. Okay, so let's try and we'll do this bit. Detecting which enemy kills the player by adding the second enemy variable. Plot the door. I don't know how I'm going to tie the two together. I don't know how I'm going to say rem E, oops, E1. Interesting. Let me think about that. Let me think about that while maybe moving the second enemy will be easier to code now. So maybe that'll give me time to think about how I'm going to deal with where do I print the color of the enemy? Is that on the display? Ah, it is. Right. So I can make the enemy 2. I can't make him red because that is used by the I use that for the in-game code when you get caught or something, it changes to red. So maybe if I change, we got, and yellow is the player. Blue is kind of the color of the background dots. I could change them to cyan, which is a lighter blue. Yeah. All right, let's do. Where's my code to move them around? That is down here. All right, so the new X, right, so we did new X and new Y because of that. So we might have to replicate that code. Let's try that first. Update enemy 2 coordinates, just so that I can reuse that. Butt weasels. will that fall through to here? Let's just change those to be x2, x2, y2, x2, y2, x2. So now they're at least the right variables. No, they're not. What? Yep, that. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to update the enemy. So we've got a new x, new y for him. We want to say, can you move in the x and y? If so, go to 600 because we've got the new enemy coordinates, pants. So I might have to change these to might need to number these. We've got the new enemy coordinates. Oh, excuse me. Asthma's a butt. And I still think that this is the over a month ago now, month and a half ago, I had COVID, and I'm still noticing that it's still affecting still coughing a lot more than I used to. So we want to check that if we've got that, we're happy. So we want to move. So we don't want to jump down to 600 just yet. Let's make these, because there's not many lines, but we do want to leave room for multiple enemies. So let's make that 500. What was our line above? 200. Okay, that should be plenty. We want to make that, so we got 502, 502, 504. Oh, we're going to have to add more lines into here too. See, we're starting to run out of... This line numbering's a bumhole. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Let's double it. So let's make that 520. That'll give us 540, 560, 580. So that'll give us 3 more enemies. And that'll give us 3 more enemies. So that'll be a player and 5 enemies, which is probably going to be all we'll ever need. 5 enemies is more than anyone will ever need. You can quote me on that. So we want to go to... Okay, we're kind of going through this whole, like, if you do this, then jump to the next block. And once we do this, then jump to the next block. I mean, it's kind of what I do with assembly programs anyway. It just feels a little bit weirder for a program like this. Like, I almost feel like maybe I should be making a subroutine that gets called up each time. But then all these go-tos are going to make it interesting. Let's run with this at the moment. So at the moment, once we do this, we're going to change that to 520. Change that one to 520. Change that to 520. We want, because we need to add a couple more lines in here for the moving up and down in the opposite direction away from the player. Maybe 4 more lines. At most 4 more lines. Okay. So we've got enemy 1, enemy 2. That is fine, because that can be reallocated, so that's cool. Okay, so now we get down to 600. If that, that could be how we detect. Maybe we set up a little variable, right? We could say if the FB, maybe not a variable, or maybe we can use these, or maybe instead of 1500 we have like another. We don't want to have it. We don't want to jump to a different location for each enemy. Right, so at the moment you've been caught, so x1, y1. We could just pass the x and y coordinates of where you have been caught at. So we don't need to necessarily know the enemy that did it. We just need to know the location that it was done at. The catching, that is. So, all right. Yeah. Then x equals x1, y equals y1, and go to 1500. And then down at 1500 we can just say or we can just use those ZX variables and not even have to do it here, because we're also go subbing 1400, which updates the board. Yeah, let's just rem that out for now. So let's just, instead of allocating then zx equals x1, zy equals y1, go to 1500. And then at 1500 we'll say, we'll set up those zx and zy variables. We've already done it. Go to 1400, it'll update, so that gets used for where it moves on the x and y coordinates to print, and it'll print ZC string, which in this case is reverse on red plus the character of the enemy. Yeah, I think that'll do it. So now we've got to, we'll copy that. If it is x2, then that, and then if we add more enemies, it'll be x3, y3, x4, blah blah blah. Got new enemy coordinates. So B, so then we just want to also replicate that, and because if it gets to here, then there's no collision has happened. The enemies have moved somewhere safe, and will update their grid locations with the enemy character, which is the ampersand. Then we will update 1210, 1220, 1230. So that is the player, enemy 1, enemy 2. So I think that's all we need to do to move the second enemy. We've got the start location. We've allocated that to X2 and Y2. Enemy update coordinates. Enemy 2 update coordinates. So it will also try and move closer to the player. That's going to get interesting. Collision detection. If no collision has happened, redisplay everyone on the screen and we're happy as Larry. Let us see what we broke. Why are you? I've got to fix that file name, don't I? I don't like that file name. How long are we going? 25 minutes. Alright, what mode? Hurry up. Okay. Looks all legit. And everyone gets placed there. Yes, we've got enemies. Ooh, look at that. Now that's funny. See, if I had done the teleporting at the stage, we wouldn't have had to go all the way through across the screen. We could have and come out here. So the teleporting will be only doable by the player, not the enemies. So at this stage, oh, syntax error in 608. Look at that. 608. B x2 comma y2. Really? Why is that syntax error? Interesting. Maybe that has to do with these variables here. So let's, what does, let me put that white so you can see it. What is x2? 14. y2? 14. 14 comma 14. Really? You sure about that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, okay, yep, that's right. So it tried to move to here. This is line 16, that's line 15, that's line 14. So it did, it tried to move north 1. That's right, 14, 14. B. Let's go print B x2 comma y2. 38. That's also right, because that's the character for our enemy. All right. So it was previously at B x-axis was the same, I think. Y-axis was 15. So it did update. So it moved it. Interesting. What am I missing? X2, Y2. So what have we got for NX and NY? That's the new X and new Y. Yep. So that was, so it updated it. Let's list the lines around it. 600 to 620. Because it did the, so if I print X1, Y1, 1215, so he's, okay, print B 12,15, that moved him okay. Why is 608 a syntax error? I haven't got full stops instead of commas. It is doing the exact same thing, but with different variables. Alright, X2, let's highlight that. Where are we assigning X2? Curious. Try and run it again. I'm going to change the, I think we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, so the file names can only be 16 characters anyway on the C64. So let's just call it Roguish Pack 3. Could stop it here and find out what they're at. If I'm we have not wiped over where he previously was. We've turned him into a snake. Crap on a crapstick. I'm going to get away. Now here's another thing I want to test is if I'll walk into the enemy and see if it updates the right position. Bam, it does. Alright, so that's one. Okay, so we're not clearing the position of where he was. So I wonder if that was why we were getting the syntax error. It went somewhere, maybe the other guy. Yeah, I can't explain that. That's kind of weird. But we need to clear the dot of... right. So here we go. We cleared enemy 1, but not enemy 2. So now if we rerun that, we should have an enemies moving and not leaving a snake trail. You could turn this into a snake game. There you go, now you know how. Warp mode. Alright. Oh dear me. Yep. This is another reason to add that teleport. Oh. You know what I have? Man, they are oddly too close together. What's going to happen if they try and... Yep, there we go. We've lost an enemy. Cool. We've cut the game down to only one enemy. Yes! Oh, that's fantastic. I'll drink to that. Yep. Okay, cool. Sweet. So, we can go down here and go move second enemy. Is that done yet? It's a bug. We've got a bug. But we're moving him. Let's add a bug up here, which is to stop. I'm writing these in here just in case I don't get around to it in this video, because I didn't want this to be another almost 2-hour video. Stop enemies wiping each other off the face of the earth. Great. Makes sense? Detect which enemy kills the player. Oh, we did that too, didn't we? Actually, let's rerun it and see if I can walk into the cyan enemy, because that's enemy 2, and see if that updates the screen correctly as far as the little death location. Death location. I should probably give it a happier name than that. Okay. We got enemy 2, because he's cyan. And it updates the correct place on the screen. Great. We can call that... Oh, I might do that with a capital. Insert. See, VI, an ancient editor from time past, that's got an overwrite mode. Why doesn't Visual Studio Code have an overwrite mode by default? Yeah. Okay. Stop enemies going through objects and each other. So I guess if we do that, then that'll stop them wiping each other off. So I guess we don't need to do it because that'll be covered by this. So let's try and do that. So update the enemy. So if it's not a wall, so we've basically got, if it's not a wall, where do we do? Well, we could just let it say, as long as it's not well, we could just say if it equals 0. Right, so if whatever is at the new coordinate is 0, in other words, there's nothing at that location, then the enemy can move there. But then that will stop it walking, that'll stop it catching us. Okay, so if it, let's go, if it equals, if we want it to be able to catch us, so we want it to also go or equals player. Does that make sense? So we basically want to say if the new coordinates is 0, so there's nothing on the board location, or it is the player location, then we will allow that movement to happen. And again, I really should I could probably clean these up so that they can be, so we're not replicating this code each time. Let's put that there. Let's put that there. We'll do the same for this guy. So let's put that there. Oops. Put that there. Okay, so now both enemies 1 and 2 can move only into empty spaces or into the player. I think that's all I need to do. We still haven't. They'll still get stuck. We'll work on that next. That is this one here, to allow them to move away from the player so they don't get stuck. So let's try running that and try and motivate those enemies into positions where something else already is. Whoop. Oh dear me. Oh yeah, no, that's cool. Oh no, so he can move diagonally, so he's got me. Okay, let's try that again. Warp mode. Okay. Oh, bum sticks. Oh dear. I thought about another thing, which is making. Let's add that as a feature request. Ensure enemies are at least six grid spaces from player start location. If I was to make a, I think that's what I'd like. If you notice things like Pac-Man, right? They've always got the exact same start location, kind of for a reason. But because we're allowing things to be put completely at random on the map, we might have to make sure that at least you've got a fighting chance. I mean, it's still going to be hard because they can still move diagonally, but yeah, I mean, there's no hope here because I can't motivate them. I'll just do it. I'll just start again and see if we can get ourselves into a better place. So what I'm trying to test now is, will they avoid running over other things? Okay, so that cyan guy is going to move closer to us here, so he will hopefully get stuck and not be able to move through that door. If I move up, oh yeah, see, I'm moving closer, so he can't come through. He can't move through that door, which is great. See, he can't. You'll notice that if the way the code is working is that at the moment, to get himself closer to me, he would have to go to that position there. That's kind of his only... maybe he should be able to get to that square as well. And he's not going to, because it's still... He's not going to move down directly until I am at that location. Oh. No, maybe we've got a bug in his code somewhere. Okay, but... Alright, we're happy that they now cannot move through objects. So we've stopped enemies going through objects. This one will be for later. So let's add checks. So the two things I want to do in this video before we call it a day is to let's do the teleport and the adding the checks to move the plate. Let's do these two. Add checks to move enemies away from the place so they don't just get stuck. Does that sound like it's easier than teleporting across the screen? They're probably both the same. Alright, let's go up here. Let's do the teleporting first. So should we do the teleport checks before all this other stuff? We know that we're at one... Oh, that we remembered it. We got 1, 8, and 38, 8. And vice versa. So do we want to hard code this, or are we going to... Actually, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I guess if I was doing this a little differently, I might add a couple of other data statements here. Oops, DA, D capital A, and say we've got teleporters of 1, 8, 38, 8. And if we know that a map is only ever going to have 2 teleport locations, will they be in different locations? We could make it so that each level the teleport locations are exactly the same, and then we could hard code it. But we could also make it so we're malleable. And I think this is a better learning opportunity. So let's go right up to the top, and we do a read here when we're setting up the board. But before we set up the board, we want to do those reads. So let's go. We always hate using any variables that start with T in case they mix with the timer, but the timer is only TI. So let's go T teleport location 1. We need to do X, but we need to do can't go teleport 1X. I could go, but I could go teleport T1 equals read T1, read T2, read T3, read T4. So we've got our, I should stop playing with my beard. We've got our, so even if we don't use it, why is that highlighting it in yellow? But those are, man, that always makes me paranoid. What are you doing? Oh, it's because there's a colon there. What the heck? Oh, maybe that's a feature of XC Basic. We're not. Okay, anyway. So we're reading those 4 variables in so that by the time we get to the board reads, the board data reads, it will have gone past those 4 bytes. What we want to do is I guess that's going to be, so we go to our main loop. Now let's check if because we're also we're checking for a we want to do that afterwards. I was going to say that if we do it first, if I check that they've moved left first, that'll still, I'll have to do a jump past these. So if I leave these in place, and then do the if, otherwise I'm going to have to do it like a massively long string of ands. Player X, so I could go player Y, yeah, no, I think let's try putting it afterwards first, and if I create a bug, then we'll move it around and see what we can see. So if D string equals, so that is the direction key that we got, so when, it's when we're reading the key presses when the player is moving around, equals character string, which is the which is the left arrow. We want to move, I should have made some comments here. So the y-axis, let's go to our trusty Petsky. So cursor right is 29, so this is the moving right. Oh, bug off. So that must mean, so we're minusing, minus to move right, so plus will be moving left on the, I'm not a mathematician either. Let's go character string 145 equals, That's the up arrow. No, so 17 is the down. No, we don't want that. You know, that's down. That's up. Oh, right. Left and right. So that's right. That'll be left. Bugger off autocomplete. 157 is move cursor left. Cool. Alright, so if we are moving left, so that's 157. Let's just put a rem move left. So I don't need that shite there. Move left and because this gets done after the locations have been updated. Oh no, we update the player down here. Oh, we haven't updated the enemy 2. What? Player, enemy 1. We didn't clear the screen location of the the grid coordinate of enemy 2. That was this is the part of the code where it automatically assumes they're going to move first, and that will get updated whether they do or not later. Whoops. Okay, cool. Good bug spotting. So if they move left and right, so we haven't done the allocation of the movement yet. I was just worried that if we did it, if they move left, this gets updated, they move, and then it has detected, okay, well, the D string still has the left arrow code in there, and they're now at that location where the teleporter is. So like I was worried about them doing like a kind of a double move before the teleporter. That might be funny if that was like a little vacuum get sucked out. And so yeah, we'll try and avoid that. So if they've pressed the left arrow and YY equals, what do we do? We want YX equals T1 and YX and YY equals T2. So if all those three happened, do I have two spaces there? No. Then YX equals T3, YY equals T4. Pew. What do you reckon? So let's presume that they are in that position 1, 8, which if we go to the top is going to be T1 and T2. If we go back to the bottom, T1 and T2 is 1, 8, so XY, XY, okay. If we, sorry, I'm jumping around all over the place. Let's assume they're in position 1, 8, and they've pressed left. This is going to say the player Y is decremented if they've pressed left and the player X, player X, we changed it to player X, not YX. I was remembering the old code. Oh, I wonder if I've done that anywhere else. No. Whew. Player X and player Y. Wow, lucky. Then player X is T3 and player Y. Whoops. So if they press left and the location is not 1 and the location is not 1. Right, because this stops them going, this stops the position changing to 0. So if it's not 1 and am I not checking for them going off the other end? Is not, oh no, because it's gonna catch a wall. Oh, so if the walls weren't there, then they'd be able to walk away. If the player is not 1 and the board player X minus 1 so they've gone left, so that's now checking if the character to the left is not a wall. So it's going to allow that movement if they're not at location 1 and the previous location is not a wall. I think we should be okay with that. The proof will be in the testing. So we're now checking if the right has been pressed, and if the player is at T3 and T4, then player X will equal T1 and T2. So if they're at T3, T4 and they press right, loop, they'll go out that side and appear loop on that side. And so it's updated the player X and Y coordinates. So down here it will update the player. I think we might also get left with oh no, because we've already wiped the grid location of where they were, so we shouldn't need to do that again. Okay, cool. Is that making sense? Let's try and escape. Let's try and teleport. Speed that up. Warp mode takes away my cool drive noises. Where am I? I'm there. Okay. So I can probably get to that before they catch me. Dick. It's going to kind of go a bit slow. Oh, look at that, they got stuck. Come on, guys. What about coming up? Oh, this will be cool. Can I get them? Will they collide? Oh no, they're still colliding. Butt weasels. Alright, let's see what happens. Ready? Yes! I think it did it on one too soon though. So if I go back left, I should be able to press left twice. I'm going to press left once. It was too soon. Yeah, see, I was worried about that it would be moving us. Well, that's not bad. But then if I'm here and I go right, I'll have missed the point. Yeah, see? What if I did... I could go greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. Move left. Oh, that one's right. So maybe there is something that is moving it here, and then also moving it. Yeah, see, but if I make it greater than or equal to, let's try putting these before the other movements. I guess once this happens, yeah, we might have to end up doing a go-to to get past that and jump down here. So let's do another quick I guess another way of doing it would be to just go dstring equals blah. Right, that would save a go-to and having to do a line number. That'll just clear the D string, so then it would not hit these. Cool, let's try that. What do you reckon? I'll drink to that. What mode? How long are we doing this? 1 hour and 7. Okay, what mode off? Now. Oh no. Crumbs. Crumbs. I'm not moving. I'm not moving. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm not moving. Why did that not work? That should have gone... Because I didn't and. Oh, because I wiped the frickin' D string. Because I'm an egg. So I would probably want to go D string equals that up here. And only clear it if those hit. Otherwise I'm stuck. I'll be like, help me, I can't get up. I have fallen. Bug hunting, eh? At least this is a small program. Man, I can't imagine if this was thousands of pages. I'd be like, oh, where did I not set that variable? All right. Whoa, this is going to be a toughie. I'm going to go to the left. So I can move again. Yay. Oh, shivers me timbers. Oh, phew. So by going up here, I've stopped them, I hope, going down here. Which means that I should be able to get away from them. Okay. One more and it's going to teleport me. Oh, it fixed that as well. Nope. Broke it. Really? Really, really, really? Okay, let us go print player X, comma, player Y. 38.8. That's not right. That should have been 8.38. 3 and 4. X and Y. Let's see if I did this right. First of all, 38, 8. That's right, 38 is the x-axis. No, that is right, 38, 8. So it moved it. So line 224 is that. Ah, right. Read a bad subscript error in 224. I guess by wiping that D string, I have added some other stupidities. So I guess we're going to have to do a go-to. So we got line 200. Let's make that 400. Should we do a rem? Let's not do another rem. Let's make that 400. And we'll change that to go to 400. Go to 400 and let us see if that fixes our subscript errors and allows us to move sanely. Teleporting, eh? Bloody magic. Alright, where are we? We're down here. Oh yeah, that should be easy to do. So previously, I wonder if I should add a little debug. That'll slow it down again. I was going to say a little debug that prints out the current location of the player, but it'll just be another thing to cycle through. I'm going to go left. I'm going to go left one more time. Oh my golly gosh. I've appeared at the other end. Now I should be able to go right and get back to the left. Yes! We have a teleport. We have a friggin' teleport. See, I didn't fix them running into each other, did I? So we have a teleport. Brilliant. Let us do let's knock that off the list. Add checks to, so I did it, I didn't fix that, so let's fix that, eh? And stop enemies going, so I stopped it, them going through objects but not each other. Didn't stop them going through each other. I'm going to make that the last thing, I think. Here in 13. We'll see how long this one takes. We update the enemy coordinates. Enemy 1. What is making them go over each other? Ah, we're not checking to see if there's another enemy there. So if the new location is empty or the player, oh no, then allow it. So that should have been they should not have been able to. But we don't set it until down here. Right. We don't set it until down there. Now, what are going to be the ramifications of setting them earlier? I don't know if there will be any. think that's exactly when we've got to do it. Whoops. Paste that here. So that will mean that once the enemy 1 has moved, oh no, because we jumped to 520. Sizzle my nizzle. So that'll mean that we have to actually put that here. What the? Right, so we're going to have to say, okay, well, this has been done. Now go to 520. Now set it. And the go to 600 is where we're going to have to set that. Right, and we want to set that that's why I did them afterwards, because if they walk over the player, we're going to lose that end game. So maybe we need to do these checks here with the enemy movement. This is getting interesting, isn't it? So let's move that to here. We'll set our end game happens here, right? Butt weasels, and then we're also doing all this whole updating. So at the moment we've got enemy 1 gets set, and once its coordinates get set, I probably need to clean this up the way this is done. But let's try and follow the logic. It gets set, it goes to 520. 520 says, okay, now we've got you, because the fact that we're jumping from 3 different lines, instead of replicating that on each line and doing the go to, we'll do the right, or do, we'll set it in stone here, and then we'll do a check to say, okay, is that where the player is? But that's too late, because we've already written over it. So let's put that the other way around. And that's why it was in that order down here. So first of all, so we get the new X and Y coordinates for the enemy 1. We've checked that we allow it if it is an empty space or the player, right? But if it's the player, we want it to be optionally we could get rid of all those and do the if it equals 0, then do all this. Shh, I'm busy here. Let's do it the long convoluted way first, because it's probably going to be quicker. We'll allow the enemy 1 to move onto the player, but we want to make that an end game if it is. So then we'll go to 520 and we'll say, okay, is that new location, does that new location have the player on it? If so, go to the end game. If not, right? If it doesn't have the player, then the only other thing it can have will be a 0. So we'll say, great, let's move the enemy to that position. And then we'll figure out the enemy to movement. And then once that happens, we will go to, so in fact this is probably going to end up being, say, 540. Update, I want that to be a rem statement. Enemy 3 chords, when we have an enemy 3. And we'll want to put that here. It'll fall through to 600. That'll be 540. Oops. So it's going to do 1, jump to 520, collision check, move it, move player, move enemy 2, jump to 540, collision check, move it. And then if we had other enemies here, we would have these checks and then go 560, 580, and then eventually 600. And then once all the enemies have moved and they haven't resulted in an end game, then their positions will get updated and we'll go around the loop again. So I think that should there'll be no bugs now. No bugs. Okay. I need to motivate them to move into each other. I don't know if I can in this. Oh, yeah. I'm going to run out of room. He can move diagonally. He's got me. Man, that's a real bugger, isn't it? Yep, he caught me. See, it didn't update. It didn't. Our code updates where they are. But because which is the guy that caught me? Was it the green or the cyan? I don't remember. When it gets to the end game, it'll jump and it won't redisplay the other enemies. And I guess that was fine when I had only one enemy on one enemy on the screen. It was it or me. But now I'm going to have to consider, okay, well, there are other and that's fine. Maybe I can just simply make the in-game go sub 1210. That's the escape. What is the 1400? Update the board. So I could add a couple of go subs here to place the enemy 1 and 2. So let's go 12, 20, 12, 30. Let's close that. Get rid of that window. 12, 20, 12, 30. So we've been caught. 12, 20, 12, 30. let's get rid of that rem statement. That's taken up a line of code that we don't need. We clearly don't need that anymore. So go to 1400 is update the board. So that is where it's going to print. That is going to be where it prints the thingy that killed us. So let's do our little go subs before that. 220 go sub 230. So we've been caught. So we don't need to be redisplayed. Only redisplay the two enemies. But the one that got us will get redisplayed. What were we checking for before? We were also checking that they didn't go through each other. So let's look at that as well. Is that right? Yeah, okay. So we should be looking for two things this time. Can we make them not go into each other? And can they be displayed when I finally die? Inevitable. It's inevitable. So we got... Okay, let's... Dang it. I don't think I can get them to move together before killing me. Shit. Oh, what happened? It ate me. No. Error. Error. Shit. What happened in line 220? So it ate me, but it didn't trigger the end game. Syntax error. What the hell? Oh, list. 220, not print list. Yeah, so something happened. Okay. Let's run it again. What else did we have to check? We had to check that they don't collide with each other. Oh, and that they were still printed on the screen. Whoa. Whoa. Screwed. Yeah, there's something else going on there. They're jumping around a little bit too much. So something has gone wrong with this stuff here. I don't think that I've done this correctly. Not done that correctly. Hang on, we've been recording 1:30. That could be interesting. I wanted to try and solve one more thing before I stop the video. While it's fresh in our mind, let's see if we can figure that out. if the new X and Y location has got a 0 in it, or the new X and Y location has the player in it, then X1 is the new X, Y1 is the new Y. Go to 520. 520. If, oh, yeah, so if they move into, I should have left it up on the screen so I can move the cursor around. If they move into, so it's happy with that, right? But it hasn't moved them yet. That happens here. This has basically just said your new location is okay. But if your new location happens to contain the player, then we ZX equals X1, ZY equals Y1, yeah? Go to 1500. So maybe it was my in-game stuff that broke it. Go sub 220. So it has accepted the new coordinates and the player is there. So, but we've still got an instance where the enemy character, the ampersand, is still in its original location on the board, because we still need it for the check. So we've got here, well, let's do the go sub 200 and 230. Go sub 200. Oh, 200. No, 220 and 230. Oh, funny. 220, 230. Oh, I have not got the right. It's not 200 and 230. It's 1220 and 1230. That is probably a problem. Okay. Hopefully it's as simple as that. Where did I get the 230 and that was several generations of the code ago. Okay, what do we got? We're testing two things. Is he going to walk over me? He caught me. Ah, but it updated the wrong one. That's interesting. Wait, did it just swap the colours? Did it just swap the colours? I might still have some bugs there. Okay. I'm going to let the cyan one, so that is enemy number 2, catch me. Come on, enemy number 2. That worked. That's interesting. It caught me. Did I walk into it last time? Man, so this is where functional testing is. That worked. That displayed the right one. It displayed the other enemy correctly. Why did I get a bug that last time? It caught me this time, so now I'm going to try and walk into it. Or maybe it was because the other one was the green one, not the cyan one. So let's walk into the green, which is enemy 1. I'm going to walk into it. No, yeah, so enemy 1 updating is broken. I'm going to leave that there for a sec. So enemy 1 end game. Let's go to I still haven't tested if they've walked into each other, because that is so difficult to replicate when they start so far away from each other. Okay, player coordinates, enemy coordinates. We do a check. Do we? Player walked into the enemy. All right. Player X. If yeah, okay, 1500. All right. So we're going back to 1500. Let's say I walked into enemy 1. I need to, because see, when the enemy walks into us, where did we do it? We updated the ZX and the ZY coordinates, but we didn't do that when we walk into the enemy. So I need to oh, but I don't know which one I walked into. I just walked into an enemy. That's... Maybe I'm going to have to add a track enemy number to track player colliding with enemy. Track the enemy number somehow, or track the enemy number, or track which enemy player collides with, sort of, I guess. I think that might have to do for today, because we're almost, yeah, we're about as long as the last video. But you know, we've come a long way. We've added teleporting. We put the door in the right place. Detect which enemy kills the player. And we've got the second enemy moving. So we've done some stuff. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. Obviously, there's going to be another part, because we need to finish this. So do I have anything else to say before I quit out of here? I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. Again, comments down below. If you've got any comments or any ideas about changes to this, I know I've been pumping these videos out really fast. It's kind of, I've just had a lot of free time lately. I'll try and space it out a couple of days between the next one. Maybe I'll leave this, because I actually recorded the previous part this morning, so I don't want to put two parts up in the same day, given how long they are. I'll try and space them out at least a couple of days apart, and that should also hopefully give you a chance to give me some comments and some ideas, if you have any, about what the how we deal with some of these. Again, the code will be on my GitHub, and I'll leave it so that it is separate to the previous version. So I'll put up a different one per episode, so that you can, if you're following along with each episode later, then you'll be able to go to the code that matches that episode. So, yeah, that's it. I'm out of here. I'll see you in the next one.